Hello, you're welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by and please consider subscribing. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. In this video, I'll be showing us how I made this ball dress for a 3-year-old. So first off, I have drafted the upper bodice and I used 9 inches for the half length and I added 1 inch for seam allowance. On the chest line, I placed 1/4 of my chest measurement and I added seam allowance, same with the waistline. So I went ahead to cut out the necklines. For the front, I used 2.5 by 2.5 inches. And for the back panel, I used 1.5 inches for the neck depth and same 2.5 inches. So concentrating on the back panel, if you've been on this channel, you will know how I take in my indentation. Now for this 3-year-old, I used ½ inch instead of 1 inch that I usually use. So because I'll be making a kind of modesty panel, it's going to be a lacing back. So I'm taking out about 1/4 inches, measuring from the new center line, the new back center line. So I'll cut this out and then I'll create another panel for the eyelets. So for the eyelets panel, I'm taking out 1 inch because I want to prepare it separately. The back panel will be of lace, but I'll be using the main fabric for the eyelet channel and the front panel. Okay, so the back panel, like I said, will be of lace. So I'll be cutting this out because I need to prepare it separately, and then we'll cut this pattern on the fabric. So for the front panel, I've cut it on the Mikado fabric, like I said, and this is what it looks like. So I'll set this aside and I'll cut the skirt part. The skirt part will be using a high and low circle. And first off, I'm cutting like I'm cutting a cone. You fold it like you're cutting a 360-degree flay. So your skirt radius, the waist radius plus the skirt length, that's what you use to get the cone. So I'm trying to show you how I will make it on the paper. Okay, so you fold it like you're folding for a 360-degree flay, and then you cut out your skirt length plus the waist radius. Okay, you shift it like you can see me do. It is a white paper, that's why you can't see it really clearly, and you measure the length you're adding to make the back longer than the front panel. So after then you cut the waist radius out. So that's what I'll be repeating on this fabric. So you unfold it again like a semicircle and then you shift it backward to get the length that you want. You can make it longer and you can make it just shorter. So this one I use about 7 inches for the back to be longer than the front. Okay, so when you've gotten your desired length and how you want the back to be longer than the front, you fold it back. You fold it back and then you cut out your waist radius. You measure that out. So for this, I used about 3.5 inches. Okay, that's the waist radius I used. I'll have to mark it out and then cut it out. After that, you've gotten your high and low flay. After that, I'll be inserting a gaudet to this skirt part. So I'll cut out the triangle that I want. Okay, you measure how far you want it to be, and I'm adding just not too much to as the gaudet. So I'm cutting that out and I will now slice open the midpoint for the skirt. I'll need that midpoint when I'm inserting the zipper. So for the gaudet, I'm using this lace fabric and I'll just place my skirt on the lace like so. Now you're cutting it out diagonally, okay? And then we'll use this lace part to complete the other part that we cut out. So I'm tracing out the slant that I have on the skate and then cuffing it out just the way I want it. I have a tutorial on how to make cordette on my channel, so you can check that out. So I'm simply making this boulder and cutting it out, and then I'll insert it to the circle part. So for the net part, I use a hard net and a kind of soft but not very soft net, okay? So I've cut them out into two layers for the skirts, for the net part, and the hard net too. So I measured about 15 inches for both of them. So these are the pieces that I've cut on the fabric, and then the lining too. The lining, I cut it just like I cut the skirt part. So for the net, I won't be inserting it to the waistline. I'll just measure 2 inches downwards from the waistline and insert the soft net to the main fabric. The hard net will be on the lining, okay? So this is how I sew the hard net to the lining. I didn't add it to the waistline, so I just made it 2 inches downwards from the waistline. So that's it. And then for the upper bodice, I've cut the lining for the front panel. I'll turn the neck and then I will take out my seam allowance for the back and the front panel. So for the hem of the skirt, I'll be using this 1-inch crinoline to hem it. I'll sew it all the way around. So here's my front panel. I've taken out my dart and I've added the lace part of it. So this is the modesty panel I talked about. I've prepared it and then I inserted it. I left about ½ inch, okay, ½ inch from the neckline. I will sew it down. At this point, I'll bring in the modesty panel that I've already prepared separately, and then I will insert it, making the modesty panel to go in between, and then I'll sew it down. Not the part that has to go into the neckline. If you need to use your pattern to get this right, please do. So this is it. I'll pin it down and then sew it down on both sides. Here it is. I've sewn it all round, and because I want to have a good finishing, I didn't want the seam allowance to be showing, so just watch me do it. I'm using the lining to turn that seam allowance so you won't see anything. Everything will just be inside. It will make the finishing a lot neater. So from the arm curve, I'm just placing it, the right side to the right side. I will sew it and turn it inside out. And here it is, looking different. Sewing it to the skirt part, I'll get the midpoint on the upper bodice, and I'll take it to the circle part. The circle part also, I have gotten the midpoint. I inserted the zipper and I added the net to it. So I'll sew it all the way around. And because we are using a modesty panel, don't worry, whatever is left, we'll have to turn it with the lining. So here it is. I'll sew it to the circle part, and that's the zipper. So for the lining, I'll simply bring in the lining that I've sewn the net to, and then I'll place the right side to the right side and then sew it so that the net will be inward. It won't be touching the baby's skin. Okay, so watch me do it. I'll take it, bring the right side of the lining, get the midpoint, and then I'll take it to the midpoint of the skirt part. So now the right side of the lining is facing the back side of the main bodice. Hope you understand, but just watch me do it. Then I will sew it all the way around to where you have the zipper, because I cut it the exact same thing. So then I will use that other part to turn the zipper part, so everything will be all neat. So I'm done, and this is the look so far. So when I'm done with this, I will insert the sleeves, and here is a little bride. That's the back side. I attached this bow to it. If you want me to make series of bow videos, let me know in the comment section so we can do it together. Thank you for watching.